The One Thing by Gary Keller with J. Papasan. Picture this, a man standing at the pinnacle of success. In less than 10 years, he'd built an empire from scratch, his ambitions reaching toward national and international glory. That man was Gary Keller. From the outside looking in, he was the embodiment of the American dream, dedicated, hardworking, the whole package. But here's the twist. Behind closed doors, his life was unraveling like a cheap sweater. Despite the endless hours and countless sacrifices, everything felt like it was spinning out of control. He was drowning in his own success. Picture him there, desperate and defeated, at the absolute end of his rope. That's when he made a move that would flip his entire world upside down. He called in a coach. He laid it all out, his business struggles, his personal demons, his dreams, the whole messy truth. The coach studied everything like a detective examining a crime scene. Then he pinned up this massive organizational chart on the wall, a bird's-eye view of Keller's entire operation. He turned to Gary with a question that seemed almost too simple. "You want to know what'll turn this ship around?" Gary braced himself for some complex, multi-step master plan. The coach smiled and pointed to 14 spots on that chart. "Find the right people for these 14 positions," he said, "and watch your company, your job, and your entire life transform." Gary was floored. "That's it?" He was almost offended by the simplicity. "Come on, it's got to be more complicated than that." The coach just grinned. "Jesus needed 12 disciples. You'll need 14. That moment hit Gary like a lightning bolt. He realized something profound. He thought he was focused, but he'd been fooling himself. Finding those 14 people wasn't just important. It was everything. So he did something that probably made his board of directors choke on their morning coffee. He fired himself as CEO and made recruiting his sole mission, his one thing. And you know what happened? The universe shifted. Within 3 years, his company entered a growth phase that would make Silicon Valley jealous, averaging 40% growth year after year for almost a decade. They went from regional players to global contenders. Success didn't just show up, it moved in permanently. What Gary discovered that day is the golden thread we're pulling on today. It's an idea so deceptively simple that most people walk right past it, yet it's hidden in the DNA of virtually every major success story you've ever heard. In their groundbreaking book, The One Thing, which has sold millions of copies and sparked life transformations across the globe, Gary Keller and J. Papasan turn this insight into a practical roadmap for extraordinary results. By the time we're done here, you'll understand this beautifully simple truth. You'll have a question in your arsenal that cuts through the noise, like a hot knife through butter, helping you find clarity when chaos is throwing a party in your brain. This applies everywhere: your studies, your health, your relationships, your career. This isn't just about checking more boxes on your to-do list. It's about living a life that actually feels worth living. So buckle up. We're about to discover the secret to getting what you want by focusing on just one thing. Ever watch dominoes fall? It starts with the gentlest push. One tiny piece tips, and suddenly you've got a beautiful chain reaction. That first domino transfers its energy to the next, and what began as barely a whisper becomes an unstoppable wave. It's mesmerizing. But here's where it gets wild. A single domino can knock over another domino that's 50% larger than itself. A physicist named Lorne Whitehead figured this out back in 1983, and it's a game changer. This means domino falls aren't just linear, they're geometric. Let's have some fun with this. Start with a domino that's just 2 inches tall. Now line up dominoes, each one 50% bigger than the last. By the 10th domino, you're looking at something as tall as a professional quarterback. The 18th? That's competing with the Leaning Tower of Pisa. The 23rd would dwarf the Eiffel Tower. Number 31 would loom over Mount Everest. And get this, the 57th domino would practically reach from Earth to the Moon. Mind blown. This is the beating heart of the one thing. Extraordinary success isn't about juggling everything at once like some kind of circus performer. It's sequential. It's about identifying your priorities, lining them up, and knocking over that first domino, the lead domino. When you nail that first thing, you unleash geometric potential that most people never even know exists. The problem? Life doesn't arrange the dominoes for us. It doesn't hand us a map with a big red arrow saying, "Start here, genius." Instead, it bombards us with an endless tsunami of distractions, obligations, and choices, all screaming for attention like toddlers in a toy store. We end up feeling overwhelmed, stretched thinner than pizza dough, and committed to about 17 too many things. To navigate this chaos, we've bought into certain beliefs, a collection of lies, really, that we think will help us succeed, but actually keep us stuck. To find your one thing, you've got to unlearn these lies first. The first lie is the big one. Everything matters equally. We worship at the altar of the to-do list. We write down every task, every request, every brilliant idea we have at 3 in the morning. Then we treat that list like holy scripture, frantically checking off items like our worth depends on it. We confuse being busy with being productive. We end the day with a clean desk and pat ourselves on the back. But as Henry David Thoreau wisely asked, it's not enough to be busy, so are the ants. The question is, what are we busy about? A to-do list is really just a survival strategy. It gets you through the day without dropping all the balls, but it doesn't actually move you forward. A success list? That's a different animal entirely. It's built on a principle discovered by Italian economist Vilfredo Pareto, who noticed that 80% of Italy's land was owned by just 20% of the people. This insight became the famous 80/20ths rule, revealing a fundamental truth. The majority of your results come from a minority of your efforts. A handful of your clients generate most of your revenue. A few of your habits determine most of your health. A small number of your actions account for most of your success. Not everything matters equally. Not even close. So a to-do list becomes a success list when you apply the 80/20ths principle to it. You don't just list what you could do. You ruthlessly prioritize what you should do. But Keller wants us to go even further. He pushes us to the extreme. Find the 20% of that 20%. Keep slicing until you're left with the one imperative thing, the thing that matters most. This naturally leads us to the second lie, the multitasking myth. We've been brainwashed into believing multitasking is a superpower, something to brag about in job interviews. But here's the truth bomb. Multitasking is a scam. It's a really effective way to get less done, not more. The term multitasking was actually invented in the 1960s to describe computers, not humans. A computer's processor can only handle one piece of code at a time. When it multitasks, it's actually switching between tasks at lightning speed, creating the illusion of simultaneity. Our brains work similarly. Sure, we can walk and talk at the same time. Those activities use different neural channels, but we absolutely cannot focus on two things at once. Our attention ping-pongs back and forth. Every switch costs us. Researchers estimate we lose up to 28% of our workday to multitasking inefficiency. It breeds mistakes, terrible decisions, and stress levels that would make an air traffic controller nervous. Buddhists call it monkey mind, jumping from branch to branch, never settling anywhere. When you try to do two things at once, you're doing both poorly. The third lie says that success requires living a disciplined life. We imagine successful people as these paragons of self-control, disciplined in every single moment of their existence. Not only is this intimidating as hell, it's also completely false. Success isn't a marathon of disciplined action. It's a sprint. It's just long enough for a habit to form and take over the wheel. You don't need to be a disciplined person in everything. You need to build powerful habits. And you only need enough discipline to build one powerful habit at a time. Take Michael Phelps, the Olympic swimming legend. As a kid, he was diagnosed with ADHD. His teacher actually told his mother he'd never be able to focus on anything. Fast forward, and he became the most decorated Olympian in history. His secret? He channeled everything into one disciplined action that became one habit, swimming every single day. He used what Keller calls selected discipline. By zeroing in on that one habit, he gave himself permission to be less disciplined elsewhere in his life. So how long does building a habit actually take? The old myth says 21 days, right? Wrong. Modern research from University College London puts it at an average of 66 days for a new behavior to become automatic. The journey feels tough at first, like pushing a boulder uphill. But once that habit locks in, it takes way less energy to maintain. The discipline has done its job, and the habit runs on autopilot. The fourth lie is that willpower is always available on demand. We treat willpower like some unlimited resource we can summon whenever we need to resist temptation or push through challenges. This is dangerously wrong. Think of willpower as your phone battery. You start each day fully charged. Every time you use it, resisting that donut, ignoring a notification, biting your tongue in a meeting, you drain a little juice. By day's end, when you're running on red, your resolve is shot. This was brilliantly demonstrated in the famous marshmallow test with 4-year-olds. The kids who could delay gratification and wait for that second marshmallow showed remarkable willpower. Years later, researchers tracked them down and found those same children had higher SAT scores, better stress management, and more success across the board. Willpower is a massive predictor of future success. But here's the catch. It's limited. Though renewable, it's also affected by what you eat. Your brain, especially the prefrontal cortex that governs willpower, burns through a massive amount of your body's energy. When your blood sugar drops, your willpower drops with it. This is why, after a brutal day at work, you're reaching for chips instead of carrots. When willpower is depleted, we revert to our default settings. The solution isn't getting more willpower, it's managing it wisely. Do your most important work, your one thing, early in the day when your willpower tank is full. Don't let your most critical task become a victim of a drained battery. This brings us to the fifth lie, the pursuit of a balanced life. We hear it constantly. I need better work-life balance. It sounds so peaceful, so civilized. But it's a fantasy. Balance is bogus. The word balance suggests a perfect middle ground. But magic never happens in the middle. Magic happens at the extremes. To achieve extraordinary results, you must choose what matters most and give it all the time it demands. This requires getting out of balance. Time on one thing means time away from another. That's just physics. Instead of balance, think counterbalance. Watch a ballerina standing on pointe. She looks perfectly balanced, right? But look closer. Her feet are making constant tiny adjustments. She's actively counterbalancing. Our lives need two types of counterbalancing. In your professional life, you must go long. You have to be willing to be out of balance for extended periods to achieve something extraordinary. You give your one thing disproportionate time, but in your personal life you must go short. You can't neglect your health, family, friends, or spirit for long. These are glass balls. Work is the rubber ball. Drop the rubber ball, and it bounces back. Drop a glass ball, and it shatters. So the challenge isn't achieving some mythical balanced state. It's about priority and timing. When you're supposed to work, work fully. When you're supposed to play, play fully. It's this constant, purposeful counterbalancing that creates a rich life. The final and perhaps most destructive lie is that big is bad. We're secretly afraid of big success. We associate it with stress, crushing pressure, and sacrifice. We think it's complicated and time-consuming. This megaphobia, the irrational fear of big, makes us shrink our thinking. We lower our trajectory because it feels safer, more manageable. But none of us actually knows our limits. Worrying about them is wasted energy. When you believe in big, you free yourself to ask bigger questions, explore different paths, and try new things. It opens doors to possibilities that were invisible when you were thinking small. Thinking big becomes the launching pad for how high you can soar. What you build today is either a platform for future success or a box that traps you. Think small, and you build a small box. Your actions, relationships, and mindset are all designed for that cramped space. When you want to grow, you discover you're hitting the walls of your own box. You have to reinvent yourself, which really means breaking out of the prison you built. But if you think big from the start, you build a platform, a foundation strong enough to support the next level, and the level after that. So now that we've cleared away the lies, how do we actually find the truth? How do we discover our one thing? It starts with a question. Keller argues that the quality of our life is determined by the quality of the questions we ask ourselves. To get extraordinary results, you need to ask one extraordinary question. He calls it the focusing question, and it's the simple, powerful tool at the heart of this entire philosophy. Here it is. What's the one thing I can do, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Let's unpack this beauty. What's the one thing? This forces singular focus, not two things, not a handful. One. It demands a specific priority. I can do. This is action-oriented, not what you should do, could do, or would do in a perfect world. What's actually possible for you right now? Such that, by doing it, this is the bridge connecting your action to purpose. It's the criterion your answer must meet. Everything else will be easier or unnecessary? This is the ultimate leverage test. It's how you find the lead domino. The answer is the one action that creates maximum momentum, knocking down other tasks along the way, or making them irrelevant entirely. This question works as both a telescope and a microscope. You can use the big picture version, what's my one thing in life, to discover your purpose, or use the small focus version, what's my one thing right now, to find your most important priority for today, or even the next hour. To make this practical, Keller introduces a powerful framework called goal setting to the now. We all have someday goals, those big dreams we want to achieve. But someday feels distant and disconnected from today. This is why so many people never achieve their dreams. They haven't connected today to all the tomorrows it'll take to get there. Goal setting to the now bridges that gap. It works by asking a series of connected questions that work backward from the future to the present. Based on my someday goal, what's the one thing I can do in the next 5 years? Based on my 5-year goal, what's the one thing I can do this year? Based on my 1-year goal, what's the one thing I can do this month? Based on my monthly goal, what's the one thing I can do this week? Based on my weekly goal, what's the one thing I can do today? Based on my daily goal, what's the one thing I can do right now? This process connects your ultimate purpose to your immediate priority. It shows you exactly which domino to knock over right now. This is how you transform a massive, intimidating goal into a single, manageable action. Once you know your priority, the final step is living for productivity. And the most powerful tool? Time blocking. A time block is a non-negotiable appointment with yourself to work on your one thing. You open your calendar and block out a chunk of time, ideally 4 hours in the morning when your willpower is strongest. And during that sacred time, your only job is your one thing. Everything else is a distraction. Emails, phone calls, meetings, other projects, they all wait. During your time block, you're a maker. The rest of the day, you can be a manager. Successful people don't find time for their most important work. They make time for it. They build their day around their one thing, not the other way around. To make this stick, Keller suggests blocking 3 things on your calendar, in this specific order. 1. Time block your time off. Yes, vacations first. Plan your vacations and long weekends for the entire year. The most successful people work between their vacations. This ensures you get the rest needed to perform at your peak. 2. Time block your one thing. Make that daily appointment with yourself sacred. 3. Time block your planning time. Reserve 1 hour each week to review goals and set priorities for the week ahead. Comedian Jerry Seinfeld used a similar system. To become a better comedian, his one thing was writing jokes every day. He hung a huge annual calendar on his wall, and for every day he wrote, he drew a big red X. After a few days, you'll have a chain, he explained. Your only job is to not break the chain. That's the power of time blocking. It builds momentum, one day at a time. Of course, living this way comes with challenges. Even with the best intentions, our productivity can be stolen. Keller identifies the 4 thieves of productivity. The first thief is the inability to say no. When you say yes to something, you're saying no to everything else you could be doing with that time. Every yes to a distraction, a favor, or a non-essential task is a no to your one thing. Steve Jobs was famously as proud of the products Apple didn't pursue as the ones they did. In his first 2 years back at Apple, he slashed the product line from 350 products down to just 10. That's 340 NOs. To protect what matters most, you must be willing to say no, a lot. The second thief is fear of chaos. When you focus intensely on your one thing, other stuff will inevitably pile up. Your inbox will explode. Projects will be on hold. Your desk might look like a crime scene. This is unavoidable. When you strive for greatness, chaos shows up uninvited. You have to make peace with it. The success you achieve from your one thing will eventually give you the resources to manage the chaos. The third thief is poor health habits. We often sacrifice our health for success. Skipping sleep, eating garbage, ignoring exercise. This is a terrible trade. Personal energy mismanagement silently steals productivity. To perform at your best, you must protect your energy by prioritizing sleep, eating well, exercising, and connecting with loved ones. It's not a luxury, it's fuel for high performance. The final thief is an environment that doesn't support your goals. This includes both the people around you and your physical space. Attitude is contagious. Surround yourself with negative or unambitious people, and they'll drag you down. Seek out people who lift you higher. Similarly, your physical surroundings either guide you toward your one thing or pull you away from it. Clear the path to your time block bunker by removing temptations like your phone, the TV, or that coffee pot you visit every 15 minutes. Your environment should make doing what matters most the path of least resistance. In the end, the journey to an extraordinary life rests on a simple foundation, starting with a profound truth: success is an inside job. There's a wonderful story about a father who wants a few quiet minutes to read the newspaper on a Saturday morning. His young son, bursting with energy, wants to play. In a flash of inspiration, the father spots a full-page ad with a world map. He rips it into dozens of pieces, hands them to his son with some tape, and says, "Let's see how fast you can put this world puzzle together." He figures this'll buy him at least 30 minutes. But just a few minutes later, the boy pulls down the paper and proudly announces, "Dad, I'm done." The father is stunned. There's the world map, perfectly assembled. "How on earth did you do that so fast?" he asks. The boy beams. "It was easy, Dad. On the back of the paper there was a picture of a man. When I put the man together, the world just fell into place." This is the ultimate lesson of the one thing. Put yourself together first. When you live with purpose, when you know your priority, and when you focus your productivity on that priority every single day, your world falls into place. The extraordinary becomes possible. You are the first domino. As we wrap up this journey through the one thing, I want to reflect on why this book has struck such a deep chord with so many people. In a world that seems to be accelerating into chaos, louder, faster, more complex every single day, the message of this book isn't just helpful, it's a lifeline. We live in a culture that worships the hustle. We're bombarded with messages to do more, be more, achieve more. Our days are an endless stream of notifications, infinite feeds, and constant pressure to be on at all times. The result? Most of us are running on a treadmill of busyness, mistaking motion for progress, ending our days exhausted but feeling like we accomplished nothing meaningful. The genius of Keller's message is its radical simplicity. It's a powerful counter-narrative to the chaos. It gives us permission to do less. It tells us that the path to extraordinary results isn't through addition, but through subtraction. It's about finding the vital few and courageously ignoring the trivial many. What I find most powerful is how the book connects the grand vision of our lives with the small, concrete actions of our day. The goal setting to the now framework is one of the most practical tools I've encountered for turning dreams into reality. It demystifies achievement. It takes a someday goal that feels impossibly distant and transforms it into a single tangible step you can take right now. It teaches us that success isn't some magical destination we arrive at. It's something we build, domino by domino, moment by moment. The book is also refreshingly human. It acknowledges our struggles, our limited willpower, our fear of chaos, our difficulty saying no. It doesn't present some utopian vision of a perfectly organized life. Instead, it offers a realistic strategy for navigating the messy reality of being human while still achieving great things. The concept of counterbalancing instead of balancing is particularly liberating. It releases us from the guilt of not being perfect all the time and encourages a more dynamic, forgiving, and ultimately more effective approach to living a full life. If you decide to apply these principles, here are a few simple actions you can take, starting today. 1. Ask the focusing question once. Just once. Before bed tonight, ask yourself, what's the one thing I can do tomorrow to move closer to my most important goal, such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? Write down the answer. 2. Block 90 minutes tomorrow. look at your calendar for tomorrow morning. Find a 90-minute window. It doesn't have to be 4 hours to start, just 90 minutes. Block it out. Title it My One Thing. 3. Protect that block. Treat that 90-minute appointment as the most important meeting of your day. Silence your phone and put it in another room. Close your email. Tell people you're unavailable. For just 90 minutes, give your full, undivided attention to the answer you wrote down last night. That's it. Start there. Because the journey of 1,000 miles, or the path to knocking over a domino the size of Mount Everest, begins with a single step. That was a summary of The One Thing by Gary Keller and Jay Papasan. We've covered the big ideas today, but I'll be honest, a summary can only ever be a map. The real treasure is found on the journey itself. The real magic happens when you read the book for yourself, in those quiet moments when a particular story or phrase connects with you in an unexpected way. This summary is designed to help you decide if this book deserves your precious time. If anything we've talked about today has sparked something in you, I encourage you to grab a copy. Reading it isn't just about absorbing information. It's an experience that can genuinely change how you see your world and your place in it. A link to the book is in the description below. Also, if you found this journey valuable, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. That way, you won't miss our next exploration into another life-changing book from the Billionaire's Bookshelf. Let's keep growing together.